Alan Eugene Miller was convicted in the workplace shooting rampage that killed 3 people in 1999. It happened here in Pelham. Here's a look at the scene from that day. Miller was a delivery truck driver at the time. Prosecutors said that Miller killed Lee Holdbrooks and Scott Yancey at one business, then drove to another location and shot Terry Jarvis. That scene and the details leaving people in the area shocked.
Very surprised. You don't expect anything like this normally down here.
Miller was pulled over and arrested later that day. Miller stayed behind bars while the case made its way through the legal system.
The interest of the state was that he not be allowed the opportunity to make a bond.
As the case was presented in the courtroom, testimony indicated that Miller was delusional and believed his coworkers were spreading rumors about him, including that he was gay. A defense psychiatrist hired for the trial found that Miller suffered severe mental illness, according to court documents. But it was said that Miller's condition wasn't bad enough to use as a basis for an insanity defense under state law. Jurors convicted Miller after 20 minutes of deliberation and then recommended a death sentence, which a judge imposed. The death row inmate's execution date is now September 26th. This will be the second attempt to carry out Miller's execution. The Alabama Department of Corrections attempted to put Miller to death 2 years ago. Officials called off the lethal injection after the execution team wasn't able to connect the intravenous line. The state faced a midnight deadline to get the execution underway before the death warrant expired. Now the method being used will be nitrogen hypoxia. The method was used for the first time in January in another Alabama execution.
New at 10, Alan Eugene Miller was executed tonight. Miller was sentenced to death after being convicted of capital murder.
In 1999, he murdered 3 people in Pelham. Miller was put to death by nitrogen hypoxia, and this is the second time ever in the U.S. Miller survived an execution attempt in 2022 by lethal injection when they were unable to access his veins. ABC 3340's Valerie Bell witnessed the execution and shares more about what happened tonight in Atmore.
Alan Eugene Miller was executed Thursday evening. The drapes opened at 6:12 p.m. and closed at 6:32. He was strapped to a gurney and had a mask on. He spoke. His remarks ended by saying, quote, "I didn't do anything to be on death row. Thank you." When the gas appeared to start flowing, Miller could be seen shaking and gasping for air. Miller's time of death was reported at 6:38 p.m.
Everything went according to plan and according to our protocol.
This was the second time in Alabama that nitrogen hypoxia was used as the method of execution.
Just like in Smith, we talked about there's going to be involuntary body movements as the body is depleted of oxygen, so that was nothing we did not expect.
Miller did have family members and attorneys present for the execution. The victims' families were not in attendance. In Atmore, Valerie Bell, ABC 3340 News.
Governor Kay Ivey saying in a statement tonight that justice has been served and she hopes the families of those murdered can find comfort. And Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall echoing that sentiment of justice, asking the people of Alabama to join him in prayer for the victims and their families.